Could Tylenol, the pain reliever trusted by millions of parents, actually be linked to autism spectrum disorder? Some studies say yes, others say no, and parents are caught in the middle. Today, we're breaking down the science, the controversy, and the truth about Tylenol and autism, so you can decide what to believe, and my thoughts after all this research. Let's start with the argument for a possible link. Several studies, including a large NIH-funded one in 2019, found that babies with higher levels of acetaminophen, the main ingredient in Tylenol, in their umbilical cord blood were more likely to be diagnosed later with autism spectrum disorder, or ADHD. To further investigation, other NIH studies include that even mice studies have shown similar findings. It's possible that while the fetus brain was developing, the mitochondrial function during that time could have been disrupted, as during this time, the fetus is much more vulnerable to genetic disruptions. Other researchers point to biological theories. Acetaminophen may affect the body's antioxidant system, such as glutathione, increases oxidative stress, or alter brain development during pregnancy. And because millions of women take Tylenol during pregnancy, even a small risk could matter. But hold on, correlation doesn't equal causation. Other studies show no clear proof that Tylenol causes autism. Here's why. Mothers usually take Tylenol when they're sick, for fever, infection, or pain, and those underlying conditions themselves may influence autism risk, not the medication. Also, how much were they taking? Dose is in the poison. Therefore, that could also be something to consider. Researchers also warn about recall bias. Parents of autistic children might more easily remember using Tylenol compared to parents of neurotypical kids. And so far, no randomized clinical trial, the gold standard of science, has ever proven Tylenol causes autism. So, where does that leave us? Right now, major medical groups like the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists say the evidence isn't strong enough to claim Tylenol causes autism spectrum disorder. They recommend using the lowest effective dose for the shortest time during pregnancy, not avoiding it completely, but not overusing it either. The bottom line, Tylenol remains one of the safest pain relievers we have during pregnancy, but the debate is real, and more research is absolutely needed before we can make a final call. So, hidden link or false alarm? Personally, I usually take things with a grain of salt without hard evidence. However, in my case, I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Interestingly, my mother had mentioned to me while she was pregnant, she caught a cold. Not knowing she was pregnant at the time, she took Tylenol for multiple days in a row. This made me think that's an interesting coincidence. And what I found more questionable is that the mice studies also showed high correlation as well, which to me, if starting with healthy mice, it's unlikely that mice tend to have autism or genetic disorders without external factors. So if these mice were fed acetaminophen, it does seem questionable that their offsprings had a much higher chance of having autism or ADHD. However, we are not mice, and I did not take acetaminophen at all for years before, during or after giving birth to my autistic son. I do have to say that my gene may have been damaged already, and mothers, not fathers, pass on their mitochondrial function to their children, which my mitochondria likely passed down to my son. Therefore, his chances of having autism was high regardless. I think the science shows caution is smart, but fear isn't the answer. I would avoid taking over-the-counter meds unless absolutely necessary in any case. What do you think? Should parents be warned about this possible link, or is it too soon to jump to conclusions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, hit like and share with someone who should know about this debate. And subscribe for more science-based breakdowns of autism and ASD. See you in the next one.